Okay. Awesome. We're so excited. Thank you so much. Cool. We'll get into it then.
Yeah, everyone's just commenting the sound.
It's okay. We'll get it going. Do you have the loopback thing going? Yeah, okay.
What if we just ended and started again?
They don't hate you. It's
totally
fine.
fine.
Someone, please.
No,
It's
totally
totally
fine.
fine. This is the good part about this is the live stream is a fun thing, but the most important thing is getting the podcast out. So make it work. Serby, you can't hear me?
Can we
I
do
can hear you.
charades?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think we have audio now.
Oh, we did?
Okay, cool. Can everyone in the YouTube land hear us?
Thanks, everyone.
Yay!
Thanks all.
We did it.
We're trying our
fucking
best.
did
Oh,
it.
does that mean I have to? It sucks that I have to start from the top again because then it makes it clear that like did I write out a little bit at the beginning of this? Yeah, is it going to sound less organic and forced when I do it again? Sure. So I guess let's run it back. So we're going to start from the top. Excited to have everyone here now. So welcome back to Culture Binge. This is the I'm start again. Welcome back to Culture Binge. This is the Wisecrack podcast that goes far and wide to tell you what's going on in the cultural zeitgeist. I am Michael. I'm joined as always by a woman who's been fighting cyberbullies since the day of AIM accounts, Serby, and a man who will sell you his own thoughts and dreams and desires as an exclusive NFT for $3,000, Alec.
5,000.
Yes, glad to be here with you all today. Before we get into it, just a reminder, if you like the podcast, even if you don't like it that much, subscribe, rate, review, use whatever platform you prefer to listen to podcasts, rate it the highest amount of the stars or the thumbs up or whatever. And in your reviews, we love it if you, if you want to drop what we would all be in a certain category. So that means like if we were all a state, which state would we be? If we were all a Class C substance, what Class C substance would we be? You get the point. We'll read some of these later once we get to the emails. But it means a lot to us if you do that. So please do. Now we have lots to talk about today, including NFTs ruining classic YouTube videos, models finding second careers as cyberbullies, and the deception at the heart of our favorite spicy snacks. But first, we got to do slaps and chaps. So, Serby, let's start with you. What is slapping and chapping for you this week?
So what slaps is that I watched the show Shadow and Bone on Netflix, and I just love fantasy. I love fantasy books and movies and shows and everything. So I really enjoyed it. If you are looking for something kind of light and fun and something that has some pretty interesting world building and special powers, I highly recommend Shadow and Bone on Netflix. And as to what's chapping, nothing really in particular. I guess I got my second dose of the vaccine since we last had our episode.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I had a pretty bad reaction to it, but I'm glad that's over. I'm glad I'm fully vaccinated. And not much has changed in my life except for the fact that I went into a grocery store for the first time in over a year.
Wow.
And it was very, very overwhelming. I was like, all the lights, and there's so many options for food. So it was weird. It was.
Did you do a good job shopping, or were you overwhelmed and either like got things you didn't need, didn't get things you did need, anything like that?
I was very overwhelmed, and I didn't buy things that I needed. I didn't buy extra things. It almost felt like I was like, do I need what fruit do I need? Oh, pears, bananas. Like I just kind of like I couldn't, my thoughts and my eyes were everywhere. So I left with only half of the things that I needed, but it was still fun. It was a nice experience to go out again.
And we're happy that you're fully vaxxed. We've talked before about all of us had our various anxieties throughout this year going into the vaccination process, and now we're all there. That's very exciting. So now we can't get each other sick through podcasting. That's delightful stuff.
Yeah.
Alec, how about you? Slaps and chaps.
Slaps, also vaccine related. Sorry, I know our international listeners are, a little bit further off, but I fucking hugged a friend this weekend. I felt weird about it. He didn't really ask, but afterwards I was like, this is good. You should still ask, like, is hugging cool now? But anyway, that was cool, and nothing chaps. The world is perfect. We live in the best of all possible worlds. But I will use this time to say that thank you to Bides, who wants to know which Hogwarts houses we would belong to. I also would like to protest that question. But what house would you be?
Is there a Jedi house?
No. Burns would be. Then. I don't know what Burns would be.
Slytherin.
Oh, that's the bad one. I know enough to know that that's the bad one.
I would be Ravenclaw, I think. I would like to think that I'm Gryffindor, but I think I would probably be Ravenclaw. However, as I get older, I feel like I'm braver and more courageous, so I'd like to think that I'm growing into a Gryffindor.
Yeah. Isn't there one that's for like goofs and losers?
Oh, not losers, but like kind of very lovable humans who are wonderful and kind, and that would be Hufflepuff.
Okay, but I think there is the one where it's kind of like the goof asses, and I feel like I'd probably be in that one because I just feel like if I was in wizard school, I wouldn't take it as seriously. I would struggle with some of the parts, but I'd be like a good friend and a good hang at wizard school.
Okay, you can be Hufflepuff then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, you're always talking about like getting bar fights on behalf of your friends. I feel like that's that behavior.
Yeah.
It is. Listen, as we get back into the world, if anyone needs a friend to get in a bar fight on their behalf, let me know. We'll continue to think about this, and if you have thoughts on our houses, let us know. I'll do my slaps and chaps real quick. My slap is I've been watching The Circle France on Netflix, and it's incredible. It's helping me with French vocabulary. So I think if anyone out there is wanting to work on your French, it's great for that. But it's just so funny to watch the cultural differences between a reality competition show when it's primarily Americans and it's primarily French people. The French have a lot more strategy, passion, and the food they cook is so much better. In the American one, they'll show people making like grilled cheese and like plain pasta, and the French one, they're really going for it. So I've enjoyed that. And I will say, as a highbrow slap, I've recently been reading the new book by philosopher Adrian Johnston. Highly recommended if you want some intellectual stimulation to balance out the reality show stimulation I've thrust upon you. Chaps, this one's more like a slappy chap in that I'm so excited that, like, and once again, I'm sorry this is the case here, but live music is coming back in America. That's a good thing. The chap is that so many things are happening all at once because it's like every band and artist is trying to get back out on tour so they can like get paid, which I get. But where I live, at least, like in October and November, it's like everyone's playing all at once, which makes it a little hectic. So too much of a good thing, I guess. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our first topic today, and let me just ask this at the top of the topic. Have you all ever eaten a Flamin Hot Cheeto or any snack from the Flamin Hot family of Frito-Lay's goods?
Yes.
Okay, we've all eaten them. Up until this point, are you aware of the story of Richard Montañez?
No.
Alec, have you heard of Richard Montañez before?
I know the broad strokes.
Okay.
He invented it.
He supposedly invented it. We'd believed this for a while. I've been vaguely aware of the Richard Montañez story because of the internet radio show Time Crisis, in which the host had a pet obsession with American snack foods and the story of Richard Montañez. So I've heard this for a while. I've always believed that Flaming Hot Cheetos, and this is kind of the narrative. The narrative has been that a man named Richard Montañez invented Flaming Hot Cheetos when he was just a janitorial worker at the factory of Frito-Lay's in Rancho Cucamonga, California. That the origin story of the snack was his wife made this delicious salsa. One day she said, get some of the undressed Cheetos, or, like a naked Cheeto from the factory. Let's try to do something. He got like a garbage bag of naked Cheetos, brought them home. He and his wife put an oil spray on them. They got this dried salsa. They put them on. They were great. Around the same time, supposedly the Frito-Lay company had this initiative to encourage lower level employees to pitch products to be involved in the team. So in 1989, Richard Montañez sends samples out to executives, doesn't hear anything, but then bolstered by this new program encouraging workers to take initiative, he calls the CEO, goes to the company phone book, calls the guy up. That guy comes to Rancho Cucamonga, says, let me see this Montañez guy. He pitches the product, gives them these Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and the rest is history. Now, in the intervening years, he has gone from being a guy on the shop floor to someone who rose up in the corporate offices. He eventually became a VP at Pepsi. Recently, he has a new book coming out telling his stories, and a movie about him is coming out directed by Eva Longoria, which is a fictionalized account of his story, not a documentary, a narrative film. But last week, the LA Times published a story which is claiming that it's all bullshit. The story is written by a writer named Sam Dean. And the story kind of goes through the history of the Richard Montañez story and shows that a lot of it is BS. And also NPR did a Planet Money episode on the same story, which they then had to add some information to because they did an interview with Richard Montañez and they caught some of the BS. Now, here's kind of the real story that the LA Times uncovered. That in fact, the Midwestern branch of Frito-Lay had been developing a flaming hot line as far back as 1989. The project was headed by a woman named Lynn Greenfield, who was in charge of it. It was largely in response to snacks in corner stores in cities like Chicago and Detroit that had local companies that were making spicy snacks largely for Latino consumers. Local sales reps in those areas, one in particular, a guy named Fred Lindsay, who worked on the south side of Chicago, said to corporate offices and to the marketing places, we need to have a snack to compete with these. Now, I'll just read. This is a quote from Frito-Lay's in a statement to the LA Times. They said, none of our records show that Richard was involved in any capacity in the Flaming Hot test market. They said, we have interviewed multiple personnel who were involved in the test market, and all of them indicate that Richard was not involved in any capacity. That doesn't mean we don't celebrate Richard, the statement from PepsiCo and Frito-Lay continued, but the facts do not support the urban legend. So we have data and records showing that before Richard's development of his own product, that in Chicago, Detroit, and Houston, they were already testing this product out. Now, the one thing we do know, and sort of like the partial truth of Richard's story, Richard Montañez did start off working as a janitor machine operator. He did pitch spicy versions of Frito-Lay products. However, the record we have is him pitching Flaming Hot popcorn. And he did go on to play a big role in expanding the marketing and the products of Frito-Lay goods to the Latino market, went on to become a VP at Pepsi. And this is a quote from a U.S. News and World Report article from 1993. It says, Montañez burst forth with a kernel of an idea, Flamin' Hot popcorn, which will soon make its debut as part of the existing Flamin' Hot line. He also worked on the Sabrositas brand, a snack brand directly that aims specifically at the Latino market. Now, this news story broke. All hell broke loose in the spicy snack community. There was some response on the internet where people seemed to imply that this was somehow just a big news organization trying to put dirt on the name of a hardworking man. Now, Richard has responded in an interview with Variety and an interview with NPR, and he said this. He said, "You're gonna love your company more than they're ever going to love you." So his response seems to kind of vaguely indicate it is true. So Richard, no matter what, is right in that way. But his response seems to indicate that he's not getting the credit because he put his heart and soul into this company and they didn't look out for him. Now, PepsiCo did respond in a statement. And here's what they said. They said they attribute the launch and success of Flamin' Hot Cheetos and other products to several people, including Montañez. They said, to be clear, we have no reason to doubt the stories he shares about taking the initiative to create new product ideas for the Cheetos brand and pitching them to past PepsiCo leaders. But according to Variety, this is their quote, they said, the statement appears largely aimed at patching up the relationship with Montañez, who has served as a valuable brand ambassador in books and motivational speeches. So the kind of cynical look here is all of the vague statements PepsiCo has put out since the story broke is basically to say we want to keep getting good PR from this guy without really directly acknowledging that his story is bullshit. But you can look at the LA Times article. A lot of things don't add up. I came into it skeptical because I wanted to believe in the legend of Montañez, but it seems to be kind of BS-ish. Had y'all encountered, this recent story about the lies at the heart of the Flamin' Hot family?
No.
How does it make you feel? Do you feel like you've eaten deception, that you have tasted lies in powdered, salty form?
It doesn't feel like that. I am very curious how they've let this go on for so long. Like, what has the comms team been up to this whole time as he's getting his book deal and his movie deal and things like that? Like, why didn't you shut this down long ago?
So the narrative there in the LA Times article, at least, is that there's been so much turnover in the company, and that Richard Montañez's fame has largely been via social media and like online forms of promotion, that this woman, Lynn Greenfield, who did develop the Flamin' Hot line as far back to 1989, she didn't hear anything about this till 2018. And it was literally like she saw somehow in the internet an article about this and immediately was like, whoa, that's bullshit. She got in touch with the company, wrote an email that said, can someone look into this? Our team is the one that developed this. Frito-Lay then did an internal investigation starting in 2018 that kind of tried to find a paper trail. They've kept it vague and said, like, there's not records for a lot of stuff. They've said maybe it's the case that this Midwestern team was developing a product and at the same time this California team was. So maybe it's like a great minds issue. And then one of the former CEOs of Frito-Lay, who I guess is friends with Montañez, said something to the effect of like, he's a good storyteller and he tends to embellish a little bit, but that doesn't take away from like the core of what he's saying.
I think there's like not an incentive for the company to stop it. I mean, if you're the person who wants credit, it's the PR, and also like in a much, much, much smaller and inconsequential way. Like, I've dealt with some people who like have misrepresented like the work they've done at Wisecrack in small ways, and I don't think any of them were malicious or anything. And it's just like, I don't like it because it's not true, but like there's no benefit to like stopping it, and the only risk of like this person getting mad and like causing a shit show or something. And similarly, like, if you're the person who created it, again, I would be mad, but Frito-Lay is getting good press. It's a rags, like, it must be great to work for them because you could be a janitor and end up being a VP. But yeah, I do wonder though, like, how did he go from janitor to VP if not pitching them on dope snack ideas?
Well, and that's what they seem to acknowledge, that like he did pitch ideas, he did take initiative. What the Frito-Lay company seems to say, more so than him inventing this particular snack, is that what he did do was provide insight into the Latino market and encourage the company to rebrand and create sublines of products that aim particularly at the palates of Latino consumers, which, you think back to the demographics of Southern California in the early 90s when he was working there, one of the largest Latino populations in the country, but not a lot of snacks by major corporations particularly aimed at them. So like the company acknowledges like he 100% was a part of that initiative and helped bring them into those markets. I think that the sexier story, of course, is that he, this narrative of him stealing, kind of sneaking out undressed Cheetos, and his wife and him coming up with the snack themselves, and the narrative of him calling up the CEO as a janitor. But of course, what you learn in the LA Times story is the executive he says he called was not working for the company when he says he called him.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's a good story though, and I do think this kind of like plays into our tendency to, prefer nice narratives over complicated or less sexy versions of the truth. I think like we love good narratives, and we love to attach good narratives to things we consume. So part of me thinks that that's why this could have gone on so long, is that it's such a good narrative. Like, who wants to be the one that pulls the rug out from under that?
I would be. Because I think that it's important to protect your brand. And like, it's good press now, but you need to protect your brand at all costs.
When he goes off the rails and is like, aliens are inside are your freedom.
Right. Or like if he turns out to be like some like really sketchy dude with like a really sketchy hobby or something. Like I wouldn't stand for it. And it also, I wonder if there like opens the company up for like, I don't want to say like they stole his idea or didn't give him credit or something like that. But like if he establishes that he was the creator of Flamin Hot Cheetos and the company is now trying to distance themselves from him, like, is there some sort of like legal issue there? Mm-hmm. So like if it were me, I would be like, absolutely not. Like, shut that down and like tell this guy to fuck off, because I think at the end of the day, you have to protect your brand, and this is a liability to have him going out and associating himself with you and your product.
Here's just a A++ comment from Scarlet Death. Sounds like he needs to get Frito laid off. Am I right?
Yeah.
Wow. Good comment.
Yeah.
Well, there's a funny quote as well in the LA Times article where a guy who worked above him in the Frito-Lay Corporation at one point encouraged him to retire because he was doing all these speaking engagements and like making money off that. And the dude was like, you should maybe just not work for the company if you're going to be misrepresenting these things.
Right.
The idea being that he needed to like retire early. And of course, now this is kind of messing up, a movie being produced by Searchlight Pictures, directed by Ava Longoria. This is now potentially bad press for the movie. It's bad press for the new book he has coming out. So it is interesting that like Pepsi in their statement tried to both protect their brand while continuing to like obfuscate the actual truth because it might not benefit them. So their statement was very much like, did he directly develop this product? No. But was he involved and a part of a team? And do we support him? And it seems very clear the company's trying to like protect their ass on all fronts.
I would not be surprised if their crisis comms company was like working in the background trying to figure out what to do about this guy. I would not. I believe that he will be asked to move on and part ways here soon.
With what though? Oh, they're a crisis comms person.
What do you mean with what?
So wait, you're saying the Frito-Lay's comms person is going to be the one who gets axed?
No, this guy who's misrepresenting himself as the inventor. I think
he already left though. This is why he's in this weird place. So he's officially retired from Frito-Lay, and now he does like speaking engagements where he gets up to like $50,000 to talk to companies and like conferences.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't be okay with that. If it were me, I would be like, absolutely not. Because you have someone out there who's representing your brand. Like you got like a rogue person out there.
But he's doing great. He's lying in a way that makes him look good.
Well, right now, who's to say what he's gonna do?
Like if there was someone,
Wizards run Frito-Lay.
If there was someone lying about Wisecrack in such a way that it made the company seem great and people like love it more and wanted to consume things, it would be hard to like really clamp down on that person.
Yeah.
Like if it's helping everyone, it's like, you know what?
I worked for Wisecrack and Alec gave me $1 million and like made me really successful. Thanks, Alec. I'd be like, what do I do? But also, Serby, even sanctioned spokespeople. I mean, look at the Jared from Subway. I mean, everyone could turn out to be some kind of pedo down the line, you know?
That is true, but
Jared
they
makes this guy look pretty good.
But they like made that decision. This is just some rogue guy. Like, there's no recourse here. Like, they need to privately contact him and be like, yo, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alec.
No,
I was going to say one thing that's interesting with this too is it does tap into the larger thing with foodstuffs. Like the nature of invention with foodstuffs is very interesting, and I feel like different in so many other areas because, like, who's to say you really are the first person to put a chip in spicy seasoning? I kind of think about this, and we might have talked about this a while ago on this podcast, but with the Nashville chicken invasion of America, it's been this really difficult thing because you have these, chefs, people of color in Nashville are like, oh, no, we are the ones who invented this thing. But then other people take the idea, run with it, create their narrative, make a bunch of money. And it's like, no one's patenting these things. So who's to say that like one really owns this product and whose narrative is more true than the other? So I think food and food products are just a really weird space in how we construct narratives around like authenticity and invention and who really made these things.
Yeah. We have a great comment from Craig. I think this is Craig who emailed us, but could be a different Craig.
Awesome. We love Craig.
Hey, here's some love from Craig. Just got vaxxed in Canada. Let's go. I'm joining Summer of Chaos shortly. Hold a spot for me.
Yeah, Craig.
Yay!
Yeah, Canada.
Craig came Canada.
That's really great. I like Canada. I like Canadians. I want them to thrive. And I secretly think I would that Canada would suit me well. I've
always wanted to visit Montreal.
I only went once, and it was awesome. It was just so awesome. I had a really good 3 to 4 day stretch there, not going to panels at a philosophy conference because Montreal was so good. I was like, I just want to do anything other than go sit in like a Sheraton Suites conference room and listen to someone read a boring paper about Foucault. That wasn't a diss on Foucault. That was a diss on the person who gave the paper.
Yeah, if you're listening, fuck you.
Well, so a quick question. Let's lightning around this. I have 2 questions for each of you. First of all, Serby and Alec, would this affect your desire to purchase a Flaming Hot product in the future?
No.
No, burns going in, burns going out.
Wow. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, Serby Patel, she'll be here all week. Now, second question. Have either of you ever cyberbullied or been cyberbullied?
Probably. I don't know.
I've never cyberbullied. I don't think I've been cyberbullied. I've been regular bullied, like in real life, but not online.
Okay. Just curious. Not that this is a transition into the next topic or anything like that. But Serby, I feel like you were going to share with us the story of one model's journey from, the front page of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue until the front page of Twitter controversy. Mm-hmm. One Chrissy Teigen. Mm-hmm. What's Chrissy up to now? Why won't you just stay out of the news?
I mean, hopefully she will after this. We have 2 individuals who play a major role in this story. We have Chrissy Teigen and Courtney Stodden. So
who are both of these people? Okay, I know Chrissy Teigen's name and I know she's famous. That's all I know.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. So Chrissy Teigen is a model. She's an actress. She's an influencer. She's also like an aspiring chef and has like a line of like baking products or something like that. She's also married to musician John Legend, and she's well known on Twitter. So people know her for her hot takes. She is very famous for standing up against bullies and speaking out when people are unkind. I think she had like a big spat with like Trump or something at one point, or a bunch of conservatives and things like that. So she's been quite famous for the last few years. And a couple months ago, she said that she was going to quit Twitter because she was tired of the 1-2 punches she kept receiving. Now, the other individual is Courtney Stodden. She is a reality TV star who was in the news in 2011 because she married a then 51-year-old man named Doug Hutchison, who played a really creepy prison guard in the film The Green Mile. Okay. And Courtney was 16 at the time. He was 51.
She was the age 16, difference.
Right?
Also, what reality show is she on?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I was like, oh God, this.
No, there's a lot of them. So.
Yeah. So rather than focus on the fact that this 51-year-old predator was taking advantage of a 16-year-old child, the media and many celebrities focused on Courtney, and she was scrutinized and harassed. She was ridiculed. everybody just went after her, despite the fact that she was groomed and abused by this predator. It was absolutely terrible. So fast forward from 2011 to today, during an interview a couple weeks ago, Courtney Stodden said that was a very difficult period in her life, and she said that she was groomed and abused and all of these things. And she said that Chrissy Teigen was one of the individuals who bullied her, and she said Chrissy Teigen wouldn't just publicly tweet about me wanting to take a dirt nap, but she would privately DM me and tell me to kill myself. Publicly.
Jesus.
Yeah. So publicly, Chrissy Teigen would tweet things like, "My Friday fantasy, you, dirt nap, baby." She would also tweet, "Go to sleep forever." And what drug makes you do that with your mouth? Asking for a friend who really wants to know how to look like an idiot. Thanks. So Courtney Stodden, and mind you, again, Courtney Stodden was 16 at the time.
Yeah.
So in a desperate attempt to prevent all of this backlash that was coming at Chrissy, when this news came out a couple of weeks ago, Chrissy Teigen released an apology saying, "I am ashamed and completely embarrassed at my behavior, but that is nothing compared to how I made Courtney feel. I've worked so hard to give you guys joy and be beloved, and the feeling of letting you down is nearly unbearable. Truly not my only mistake, but surely won't be my last, as hard as I try, but God, I will try." And Courtney Stodden replied saying, "I accept her apology and forgive her, but the truth remains the same. I have never heard from her or her camp in private. In fact, she blocked me on Twitter. All of me wants to believe this is a sincere apology, but it feels like a public attempt to save her partnerships with Target and other brands who are realizing that her wokeness is a broken record." So it seems like the tide is finally turning against Chrissy Teigen, who people are starting to realize is a hypocrite. She often, she often discusses how important it is to stand up against bullies and cyberbullying, and she's discussed how she's been a victim of cyberbullying. And here we know that she's been bullying and encouraging a 16-year-old child to kill herself for being groomed and abused by a sexual predator. And other people have been going back through Chrissy Teigen's tweets, and they've realized that she's been doing this to other individuals as well. There was a child, I think he was like 9 or something.
What? 9? What?
Something like that. A 9-year-old girl or 10-year-old girl, something. I think she was like either nominated for an Oscar or some big award. And Chrissy Teigen didn't encourage this 9-year-old to kill herself, but she also, but she instead said things like, she's cocky and things like that. And it's a child, like a 9-year-old actress.
Yeah. Delete your tweets. Come on.
Well, she did, and people took screenshots, so that's great. Document everything as an FYI to anyone listening.
Except if we do it.
Basically, that's where we're at here, is that Chrissy Teigen has been exposed for being a terrible person. And it feels like there was like this rise of Chrissy Teigen during the pandemic. Everybody was just obsessed with her, and whether you agreed with her or not, she was everywhere, and everybody sort of knew who she was. And there was like this, like almost like hero worship when it came to her, because she would just snap off anything that she was thinking. And now we know she was thinking about children killing themselves. So what are your thoughts about Chrissy Teigen, about this situation, about the fact that celebrities and the media thought that it was okay to bully a 16-year-old? Anderson Cooper was also another individual who bullied Courtney Stodden during this time as well. So it wasn't just Chrissy Teigen.
I mean, I just want to say, big proponent of free speech. I think that everyone should find a 16-year-old and bully them. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I think the takeaway, or one of the takeaways, is stop Stop worshiping celebrities, and also especially like there's just a lot of people who are kind of like famous for being famous. It's one thing to like certain artists or like chefs or anything like that and be like, oh, like I like their recipes or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they're a cool person. And especially, the things that I have been exposed from her are just like weird and strange but kind of funny tweets about like one time a waiter didn't tell me he sold me an $18,000 bottle of wine. Aren't I relatable? And sure, fine, I think that's really funny. But yeah, I don't know. Celebrities aren't your friends. If you like someone's work, that's cool. If you respect their work, if they are like a writer and you respect their ideas, that's fine. There's so many scenarios in which they're a fucking dirtbag. Also, on Twitter, there's this discourse of like, next time you try to make fun of someone on Twitter, remember it's probably a literal child, which I think about a lot. Like, is this a dumb person or is this a child? It seems like I just think it's funny to be like, this is a child and I will bully them.
Right.
Yeah. Also, the wine thing Chrissy Teigen did, where she said someone like sold her an $18,000 bottle without telling her. A guy, I forget his name, who's like a wine seller and sommelier from Los Angeles who's worked in a bunch of restaurants, did a long Twitter thread about how none of that could have happened. And like literally went through like at restaurants, wines that are that expensive, a server on the floor can't even sell those to you. A sommelier on staff has to do it. And like he just like went through the whole thing. So and basically was like, it's clear that this is a made up story for attention. And I think a lot of Chrissy Teigen and many people, like especially when it's celebrities, it's like, why do you have to lie? You already have all the attention, but then it's like, oh yeah, you probably are a clinical narcissist who depends on attention to feel like you're valuable in this world. But whenever I hear stuff like this, like, first of all, it's truly psychotic that you're just telling a 16-year-old to kill herself online. That's psycho shit. And the thing is, there are a lot of psychos on the internet, and a lot of people use the internet as a space to like let the psychotic impulses from their id burst forth. And like, I get it. Like, it's easy to talk a little reckless and a little wild on the internet, but I do think there's a line between talking reckless about yourself or, punching up, so to speak, and talking reckless about figures with power. And on the flip side, talking reckless about people who are vulnerable, being mean to people who don't have power and are already marginalized. And it's the simple dynamic of punching up versus punching down. It's a tale as old as time. Shouts to Beauty and the Beast. But also like with Chrissy Teigen's kind of like self-victimization on the internet, like, I don't know, like if you get to a certain point, like I have it set on my Twitter where like I only see responses from people I follow. Very easy. It's a very easy thing anyone can do. So it means you don't have to see psycho stuff, because occasionally when I do look at people that aren't my followers, people say psycho stuff. Also, if I ever had as much money as Chrissy Teigen and that life, I would get offline in a heartbeat. I will get the day that if I ever had like real serious big boy money, you would not see my tweets. I would not be present on any social media thing because I would be living my life. And sadly, for anyone who, if you work in media or entertainment or comedy, or you're a writer or a creative person, there's this tendency where like this pressure to be on social media. Chrissy Teigen doesn't have to be on social media. It's a choice that she makes. She has a career. She has a family, but she chooses to spend all this time on Twitter. And I'll also say it was very annoying when she got off Twitter, made it seem like she was like, she made a whole public statement about it and then popped back on 2 weeks later. And I was like, my bad, never mind. I need more attention.
Yeah. Hugo Ailman asked, what do you guys think can be a counter towards this consumer idolatry? I think, like celebrity worship. I think not. I think a thing is happening. On one hand, we're shitting on the bad celebrities. We don't like this person's politics, or they are awful to work with, like Joss Whedon sucks. We know that, et cetera. And, from a certain kind of like, hey, it's not cool to work at a place with a psychopath. Hollywood should not like hire a psychopath. Like, I get it. But I think the flip side of that is like, we therefore feel the need to like worship the quote unquote good celebrities. Like, oh man, I'm so happy that this celebrity tweeted a political opinion that I like. I'm going to retweet it. And I'm probably guilty of it at some point. But I feel like we shouldn't. And also, I think it extends even to politicians. Like, there are politicians, I like their policies and whatever. But that doesn't mean like I should be retweeting their memes and saying like, doing the clap emoji. I think it just creates like a unhealthy relationship with people you don't know,
Yeah, there's an essay I read on Substack this week, and I feel bad. I can't remember the name, but this is just responding to Hugo's question. So, at me if you need the research. But it was basically about like how problematic our obsession with political purity or like moral purity of celebrities is. And I've totally fallen into that trap before. And reading this essay, I was like, yeah, like, why do we care? Like, why do we expect this level of purity and goodness? Now, of course, sometimes they play into that, which is, something they do wrong. But we just had to stop. We have to stop acting like we expect people who like went to drama school are going to have, and that's not a diss at all, drama school's dope, but the people that went to drama school are going to have like all the best, most subtle takes on like geopolitics and economics and gender and race or whatever. And a lot of times when these people tweet stuff, it's like their assistants or PR people trying to say the right thing to make them look good. Like, let actors be actors and singers be singers and people that invent snacks be people that invent snacks. Like, we got to stop doing that.
I think just really understanding that this is just a person's job and their job just makes them more well known than another job, but that's all they do. They didn't do anything incredible or amazing other than act in a film, which is great. That is their skill, but that doesn't make them worthy of hero worship. And I think also having a stronger sense of self, like you shouldn't base like what I've seen is I'll see friends or, somebody will retweet a celebrity and be like, exactly this, and like pointing up arrows and stuff. It's like, yeah, well, that's great that you agree with it, but don't take that and like absorb it as part of your soul and be like, I completely identify with Chrissy Teigen because she also hates Trump. Like you can hate Trump yourself if you want, but don't align yourself with people just so quickly, I think.
Yeah, and this is why today we're announcing the hashtag Culture Binge Challenge. Hashtag Culture Binge Challenge, it's a thing, which means we're going to stop retweeting celebrities and politicians. Just stop. Retweet a friend's good take. Retweet a funny meme or an article by a writer you really like, a video you really enjoy, a song that really bops. But the hashtag Culture Binge Challenge, no more retweeting the takes of celebrities and politicians. Sorry, Alec, I didn't mean to interrupt, but corporate just told me I had to say that.
We got a lot of great donation questions. I mean, they're great because they're donations, and they're also great questions. Sometimes the donations are just like, hey, I love you guys, which is also cool, but it is a great question. S.J. Riker, how much of this do you attribute to the rise in parasocial relationships in our society? And I think my immediate take is only partially. I was just thinking before this about, I think there's a component of this, the kind of like, celebrity, like this celebrity's bad, this celebrity's good, has been a thing happening. Like, for instance, like the Dixie Chicks were canceled by conservatives, like, during the Iraq War, or Janine Garofalo was like blacklisted after speaking out against the Iraq War. But so like on one side, you've got like a group of people being like, fuck this celebrity, like fuck Chris Pratt because like he associates with this like anti-gay church, whatever. But then I think that necessarily makes the other side be like, well, now we have to defend them. Like we have to defend the Dixie Chicks. We have to like elevate them. Or like, people on the right might feel the need to defend Chris Pratt or, whatever. And I think parasocial relationships play a role in that. But I think it's like politics as spectacle, I guess.
Yeah, I do think like the parasocial relationship thing is sort of like just a dark side of like the commodification of personality and the commodification of lifestyle, where even like certain types of social existence are now sold to us as a product. My GarageBand just popped off. Oh, cool. I'm a system overload. So it just stopped recording. I'm going to start recording again.
Yeah.
And then we'll hopefully pick it back up right here. If you're watching live, this is how. Here, let me close Chrome. This is how the donuts get made, ladies and gentlemen and people. I have a bad computer now. Everyone can know that. But what I was saying before about that is, I think things are becoming commodified that shouldn't be commodified. We are living parasocially through others rather than living our own lives, and we can blame people for that. But I think it's sold to us in such a damaging way these days. And I think even like it's gotten to the point where people even like look at like these social media accounts for some like prominent activist and like, is it really about activism at this point, or is it about participating in some sort of like virtue-based parasocial lifestyle? I just think we're trying to make things a lot cleaner than they are, where there's the good guys and there's the bad guys, and we like the good guys and they like the bad guys. And it's a lot more complex to think, I guess, a little more critically about who we are spending our clicks on and things like that.
Yeah.
All to say is we're all bad people.
All right. I think it's time.
Is it time to get into the question of all questions, which is, what is the limit of the NFT? What can and can't the NFT buy and unbuy? As some of you know, we've talked about NFTs here before. We did a video that was really good on, and I can say it was really good because I didn't write it, so I'm just really giving praise to our wonderful team. But we did a really great video on NFTs. And Alec is here with his new segment, the hashtag Culture Binge NFT Update, sponsored by. And I'm kidding. But Alec, what's going on with these NFTs, man?
Well, one specifically, there's an article in Gizmodo. Charlie Bit My Finger Will Disappear from the Internet, written by Shoshana Wodinsky. Charlie Bit My Finger. Are you guys familiar?
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
Can we get an impression, Serby?
Charlie bit my finger. That
It's a-
hurt, Charlie.
Yeah, it's a very random old video of two toddlers being toddlers and saying weird, goofy things. But 55-second clip of a toddler happily munching on his brother's hand is being pulled from YouTube after being auctioned off as an NFT this past Sunday. The clip was at the center of an hours-long bidding war, which finally ended after an anonymous bidder put down $760,000 for the 55-second piece of internet history. As for now, the video is still live on YouTube. This article is a little old at this point, albeit unlisted. The auction site that was created by the Davies Carr family behind the clip noted that it's soon to be deleted. And the article goes on. In a statement, the parents of the two boys, now 15 and 17, said that pulling the video from YouTube is not the end of the beloved video, but rather a new beginning. That's bullshit. We helped YouTube grow and embraced it early. We are now moving on to the next big exciting thing. They're going to use the money to pay for one of the kids' college funds. No hate towards the family. Got to get that bag, pay for kids' college.
Wait, aren't they British?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, if they have affordable college, then fuck that. No, I don't know. No, this isn't a hate on the family, but I think it's interesting for one specific reason. Well, okay, NFTs are a lot of things, but this is kind of like a trend of make an NFT destroy the original thing. There was like a Banksy that was destroyed, whatever. This might have been a thing I brought up before, but it reminds me of the enclosure movement in England. I will explain that. Give me a second. But this is sort of like digital enclosure. So the basic idea is that a lot of things on the internet, there is no scarcity. There is theoretically, an unlimited amount of times you could watch a YouTube video, you could access this thing, you can share a meme. There's just, it's not like, trees where you'll run out from cutting too many of them down. Historically, in the 1600s in England, land was a thing that was open. Peasants just had like a right to use land based on like ancestral rights. They could farm it, they could forage off of it, they could hunt off of it, whatever. And for a variety of complicated reasons, the feudal lords and aristocrats were like, no, fuck this. We're going to enclose the space to make it private, cutting peasants off from their land. And they were sort of forced into different kinds of wage labor or serfdom as a result. They couldn't feed themselves. Similar things happened in the, I want to say 17, 1800s with the colonization of Latin America, where you had indigenous people who would live off the land, but coffee plantations needed workers. So they got the government to be like, hey, we're kicking all these indigenous people off of their land. Now they'll literally starve unless they take a job off of the coffee plantation. But the enclosure is interesting because, again, land, not an infinite commodity, but necessarily the sort of artificial creation of scarcity to force people to, enter into sort of like the capitalist economy. And I think that's like a great metaphor. I mean, NFTs is this, but I think it's kind of a thing happening on the internet. Again, lots of it is not scarce, but we have digital rights management on music. We have paywalls behind, closing people off from the New York Times and other things, which subscriber-based journalism, I'm not shitting on it, whatever. But I don't know. I just want to sort of ask you guys talk about this kind of creation of artificial scarcity through NFTs.
I don't like it for stuff like this. I think that like I don't know, like, for example, I pay for some digital subscription services to read them because I want to read high quality essays and journalism, and I totally believe people should be paid for the labor they do. I try to, whenever I can, pay money for the music I listen to, or and if I use streaming services, make sure I'm buying concert tickets or merch from those artists. Like, I think that is all good, and it's good because effort goes into those things. The same reason why, like, I don't feel like a corporate shill if I ever encourage people who follow Wisecrack to join our Patreon, because I know it's a way for them to support the work we're doing, and I know how much work goes into the product and the content that we make. But if I catch a video of my kids goofing around, that's not creative labor. I pulled my phone out and I caught a dumb fun moment, and I don't think that I should be able to make that should be a commodity that I'm now able to like wall off and build a little world around. It's like we had America's Funniest Home Videos. I guess we still do, and it's hosted by Carlton from Fresh Prince, Alfonso Rivera, I think his name is, yeah. But you know, when people submitted videos for America's Funniest Home Videos, they were mostly just like, this dumb fun thing happened at our house. The dog hit the kid and the kid cried, or whatever it might be. That didn't sound funny. That just sounded like a dog abusing a child. But they send the videotape in, they get some laughs, and maybe you win like, you know, your $15,000 or whatever. And we accepted that was normal. I just think like where is the line drawn in how we start to create scarcity, not in content that involves labor, but in things that sort of just like when do we start selling NFTs for trees and tearing the trees down? That was a huge leap, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm iffy on it, but I just wanted to preface it by saying like I do believe that people should get paid for the work they do, and that we should like use our wallets to appreciate and give credit to creators. But I just don't think Charlie's a content creator.
I think that's a really interesting point you've made. What I was thinking when Alec was talking about this is how much money were they making on the YouTube video all these years? Did that exceed the $760,000 they got from the NFT? Like, what was better, to keep the video up and sell merch and things like that, or sell the NFT
I don't know.
one go?
If they weren't set up properly, like they might not have made it. Like, did they put it up on YouTube before monetization was rolled out or like easily accessible? Do they like have the copyright tools to sort of claim other videos? And you know, at this point, you know, I'm sure it's still getting views, but I don't know. I
want to sell an NFT. I don't know what, but like maybe of myself. And then I
destroy yourself.
You're a literal person? You would destroy your literal person, and then you would just exist forever as an NFT?
Exactly.
Like, here's the thing. Someone's going to do that, though. Like, some freak is going to sell themselves as some work of art and turn themselves into this, like, digitized thing on the blockchain, and it's going to be dark.
Yeah, David Blaine. No. Like, David someone who's, like, planning. No, that's too dark. I'm not going to go down the Okay, David Blaine is going to sell himself as an NFT and disappear, and he's just never coming back.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah. But let's say this though too, that the reason to maybe not shit as much on the people using NFTs, like, you know, I think it is legitimate and good that people are responding with fear to a digital media market that is unsustainable and runs on the exploitation of digital labor, by which people, and I don't think this is necessary for the Charlie kid, but for artists and musicians, it's like, well, because of how things work now, it's very hard for me to get paid for creative work that I'm doing. So if this NFT thing is going to allow me to secure a big check for a thing that I've made, sure. And I think, like, I know musicians have been using NFTs. I imagine if you ask most musicians, they would be like, no, I wish I could just make money selling the music I make at a fair price and selling concert tickets for shows that I play. That would be a fun way for me to make a living. But as musicians don't make money anymore because of streaming services, and like we all know this, Google how much an artist makes for each spin of the play on Spotify. It's like 0.00001 cent. It's horrible. But so it's forcing people into this. So like I understand the economic conditions that lead creative people to want to NFT themselves or their work. I just think it sucks that it has to come to this. And to me, it's one of these, like, these tech solutions to problems that they have themselves created, or like digital marketing solutions to problems of scarcity that they themselves have created or perpetuated.
Yeah. Oh no, we poisoned all the water. Would you like to buy some clean drinking water?
Oh, exactly. 100%. Oh,
Who could have done this?
We made the planet real hot, and it feels real bad now. Want to invest in our new green energy supply company?
I'm sad that some of these like cultural cornerstones are leaving. Like Charlie Bit My Finger. What about like if Sneezing Panda left or Star Wars Kid left? Like some of these things that like were like so early internet, or not early internet, but like.
I feel like they're still going to be on archive.org or like way back.
Yeah.
You get them.
They're never going to be gone.
Will there
for
be
good.
torrents of Charlie Bit My Finger for like the hacker class to not?
Yeah. I sometimes download videos if I find them really funny, but I know they're going to get taken down. Like I'll just say the Weezer Joe Biden video. I won't say anything else, but if you know, you know.
I need to know what that is.
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen on the internet. And because of the subject matter, it has been up. It's been taken down. I have downloaded a version of it, so you have forever. So I would say that. Like if you see a video you really like, something funny and weird, make sure you have it.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts before we move on to mailbag?
No, other than I didn't know about the Charlie Bit My Finger video for a while. So for a year, whenever I saw my little sister, she would just be like, Charlie. And I was like, what are you saying? Why are you so dumb? How are we related? But it was really my fault the whole time. Speaking of things that will never become NFTs, you, the listeners and viewers, your thoughts, your criticisms, your praise, your love, our love for you. We're never going to sell these things. They're not commodities. They're here because we like them and we love you. So call us, email us, get in touch with us, send us a letter if you can find our home address. Don't do that. Don't try to do that. But you can email us at culturebinge@wisecrack.co. No M. Wisecrack.co. I think that email address still works. And you can call us at 213-534-8807. That is 213-534-8807. I know we have some stuff this week. Do we got a voicemail we're going to start with? Or are we going to go right into the mailbag? Alec, it's whatever you want to do.
I think we got a voicemail. Maddie.
Hi, Wisecrack crew. My name is Danny. I'm from Massachusetts. And I just want to kind of talk about the SNL topic. So first and foremost, I've been a fan for years, even through all the peaks and plummets, I should say, that they've had. And I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple of things. First and foremost, I feel like it gets a lot of unnecessary flack because it's one of those shows where when it's bad, everyone shits on it. But when it's a good show, it kind of completely flies under the radar. For example, Elon Musk, trash. The Keegan-Michael Key episode, actually really good, but, it kind of went under the radar. Not a lot of people talked about it. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk about was what Michael briefly touched upon, which was the YouTube and TikTok aspect of it. And what I think made some of the previous seasons, especially with Andy Samberg, so successful was the introduction of the digital shorts for the YouTube age and the Lonely Island kind of doing their own thing and popping off. What I think they should do, though, is maybe, like, during their hiatuses, introduce sketches that didn't make the cut and, give the writers some time to shine, film it, and, throw it up on YouTube or TikTok, when they aren't filming throughout the season. That's really kind of all I have to say. Big fan. Serby, I am your sleeper agent. Just say mukbang and just consider the job done. Alec, I'm sorry. It was me who made all the accounts to unsubscribe to the channel. And Dr. Sweaty, as a fellow sweaty person, I wish you Godspeed this upcoming summer. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
I'm sweaty right now.
That's
awesome.
A great call.
That was good. Just to quickly say, made great points. I think especially the point about how we talked about, and by we I mean all of pop culture, talked about the Elon Musk episode of SNL, but then didn't talk about the Keegan-Michael Key being one of the best sketch performers and writers of the past 25 years, and then he hosts, and we're just like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. Just like a really good comedian who's it's the best at what he does. And I think it's also a great point that in the Lonely Island era, that team of performers and writers really brought in what was happening at the ground level of like digital comedy into the SNL world, but they haven't done anything like that since. I think that is a really good idea, that if you want to keep that show current, you have to basically ask like, what is current, new, interesting in comedy, and how do we bring that into what we're doing? So someone should hire, was it Daniel, right? I think
Maybe.
From Mass.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I like
him
the
to do
idea of giving the writers an opportunity to experiment and to have fun. I really appreciate your perspective. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
And thanks for being my sleeper agent.
Yeah. The SNL writers should just do the this is the digital shorts of this era, is the TikToks where they play every single role. I really like those.
Yeah, I think Chloe Feynman, who's a newer cast member, is really good at those, and that's like how she got her job on the show. Also, I'll just say too, now we're talking about SNL. It looks like everyone, a lot of people on that show who are good are all leaving, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens soon. Okay, what do we got mailbag wise?
Yeah, just a couple of emails. Well, one from John, who says, "Hello, fellow Culture Bingers. You asked for a list of everyone on the podcast, what they were, what would they be? Here are my $1 million ideas. If each of you were an academic discipline, Michael, ready for this? Pre-law, because he can't stop himself from saying object in seemingly every case, even if it draws attention from the subject. For instance, this is objectively bad versus this is subjectively bad. Do you do that?"
I don't know. I believe this person, if they took the time to write that email, it's going to affect how I speak for weeks now. So
Yeah.
I've noticed that you do that. This is objectively bad. It's not to say that it's bad that you're saying that, but like I have noticed it, and whenever you say it, it makes me smile.
It's important to differentiate between what is objective and subjective, even if we're being hyperbolic.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, it's all about tort reform. So
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on that. I can share them later, but it's all about torts.
All right. So next up is me, Alec. Astrophysics. Because he recognizes that dark stuff exists in the universe, and he can't stop talking about how much dark stuff there is in the universe. This is
really good.
That's an interesting take. But when pressed, he refuses to say what that dark stuff really is.
You've
dark
done that
stuff
2 times this
chaps.
episode.
And finally, we got Serby. Literature, because she was created to be our nuanced, transcendent moral consciousness, and most of us, in fact, get to know her through the artifacts of pop culture rather than direct experience. I get the first half of that description, but not the second half.
I am a lot less interesting in real life.
Yeah.
Well, don't tell him that, though.
Yeah.
No. But I just
develop that parasocial relationship. Everything
Let them have the
good.
fantasy.
True. Okay.
All right. Next email is from. Let's go to Carlos.
That was a really great list, by the way. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Super creative.
Thank you.
Even though I got screwed, thank you.
Pre-law is great.
I object.
You're gonna end up defending something awful like Texaco or cops.
That was an objectively good list.
It was subjectively good.
Okay,
keep going.
So Carlos is emailing us last episode. We were talking about Elon Musk, talking about being on the autism spectrum on SNL. So this is about that. Carlos says, as a dude on the spectrum, I thought I'd throw my personal opinion as related to Elon Musk. I enjoy Saturday Night Live, but I dislike Mr. Musk, so I decided to skip the episode with him hosting. Upon hearing he had announced that he has Asperger's, I felt irritated. I think he brings shame to our community, which is misunderstood enough as it is. I don't want to be such a dickhead to be representative of us, and I don't want his cult of internet fanboys calling themselves and each other autist just because Daddy Musk is. Not much more to say about that topic. Also, during that week, we talked about the preferred nomenclature dude. This is Carlos's take. Don't want to say it's the universal take, as you know, we read some comments on air. But anyway, preferred nomenclature, the main options are Asperger's syndrome for the condition or ASPI for the individual. Some people like this term because of the stigma around autism. When you tell someone you have Asperger's, they'll think introverted, smart, and quirky, whereas if you tell someone you have autism, they'll think slow, unreasonable, and asocial. However, since 2013, Asperger's syndrome is no longer an official diagnosis. So strictly speaking, it's scientifically inaccurate. Instead, the official diagnosis would be autism spectrum disorder, or I've also heard the term high-functioning autism spectrum disorder specifically for people who would have otherwise been diagnosed with, quote-unquote Asperger's. In other words, ASD represents the entire spectrum, but Asperger's only encompasses a subsection of it. The high-functioning part is a little problematic because it implies certain people with autism function less when they actually just function differently. Personally, I prefer to say I have autism. In my experience, most people react by saying, but you don't look autistic, which is a good way to start addressing the misconceptions they may have about the disorder. For example, people don't look autistic. Hell, some people on the spectrum themselves may not even know they are on it because they don't understand it. In my case, I didn't find out until I was 28. Hopefully this email will help you understand my perspective and also spark your curiosity on the subject. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank
That's
you.
so good. Yeah,
That was
everyone.
really good.
Be curious, not judgmental. Ask your friends to talk about their experiences. That's great.
And that's it. That's what we got for this week. Thank you so much for writing in.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Serby.
Someone wrote in and wrote this really funny fake dating profiles for F1 drivers, and I want to say that I sent that to a couple of my friends and we were dying. It was so funny. I would swipe so hard on Lando Norris based on your description.
I read that email. I was like, do I read this? I don't understand anything of what's happening.
Okay.
But let the record show, even if your email doesn't get read on air, it gets read by us, and we truly appreciate all of them. And I really think all of them. No one's ever crazy or mean, and don't take that as a challenge. Chrissy Teigen, don't write us, Chrissy Teigen. Don't add us, Chrissy Teigen. Don't listen to this, Chrissy Teigen. Go do other stuff. Go write a cookbook. Ugh. But I hear some of her recipes are good.
We're too old for her to bully. She wouldn't come after us.
Oh yeah, come for us.
I don't look like I'm 16.
But once again, write us, culturebinge@wisecrack.co. Call us, 213-534-8807. And finally, if Chrissy Teigen is out there and you want to step up to these streets, where could she find us on Twitter to tell us to take a dirt nap sleepy time? Serby, where could Chrissy Teigen tell you to end your life?
She can tweet me, Surrey Patel 22.
Nice. Alec, where could Chrissy Teigen imply that you don't deserve to live?
At Wisecrack Alec, I invite her to.
Great. And Chrissy, if you want to ask what drugs I take to have a face that's so stupid and that makes you hate life, you can do that at Michael O. Burns. We dare you, Chrissy. But that's all for this time. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We'll be streaming live as well. So hopefully we can see you all then. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, be good, and don't let celebrities tell you how to live your life. #Culture Binge Challenge.
Bye.
Bye.